Greetings, salutations, it's me, James, your BA Sensei, back with another Power Query tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to take a data set with various dates throughout the last 2 years, from 2023 to 2025, with stock codes and a specific amount of that stock purchase on that day. What I want to do is I'm going to take this data set and transform it into this data set over there that returns the very last day of each month for each year of the stock I purchased on that last day. Well, enough talking. Let me show you how to do it. Alright, so as always, you select your data set, you go to data and you go from table or range. Then this opens Power Query for you. Now you have Power Query open over here. First thing, you know that I have default set up to change types, change data types over there. You can see it automatically changes to date time. I don't want that. I want to have it just set to date. So just change that date time to date. Let's say okay. There we go. That's done. Now we have the date column over there. What I want to do is, because I want to kind of group everything by the year-month combination, I need to add a new column for the month date, kind of like a key to group it by. So I'm just going to call this the month year column, right? And what we can do here is we can use a formula called date, month, and say, give me the month of the date. That's going to give you integer, but that's not what we want because we want to concatenate that to the year as well, because we're looking at over multiple years. So now we can just say the same thing and date, year, and give it the date, right? And say, okay, this is going to give us an error because those are two numbers. So I need to convert this to text from. Wrap it in that. And say they also text from and wrap it in that and say okay. And now we have a unique identifier for each month and year. We can use that for our grouping. All right, so now it should be quite obvious what we're going to do now. We're going to now go to transform and say group by. We're going to group it by the month year. We're going to do all rows, which gives us the detail. Column is going to be called detail. And we're just going to say, okay. For each month year combination, it returns a table of all the records found for that month year over there. Right, cool. Excellent. So now just turn your eyes here to the generated table group function. Everything after that comma up until the end of that square bracket is junk. You can say, okay, you can delete that, and it still gives you the same result. Okay, so now what we want to do is for each one of these tables in there, I want to return the max one, the top N, the top one record where the latest date is in there. Okay, so I'm going to use the following function. Function is called Table.MaxN. So basically it has a table as an input, comparison criteria, and the count or condition. So in our case, we want to count only one. The comparison criteria is the top date, right? And that will look something like this. If you look at some examples of how this thing works, you can basically say here is a data set, that's source, look at the times borrowed, and for each where times borrowed is more than 40. That gives you all the records above 40. Okay, cool. So let's go back here. We're going to use that now. So now we're going to say, excellent, use table maxN, and we open the bracket. So now our next argument would be, what's our comparison criteria? So now I'm on the outside table because this very first each refers to this outside table. I need to go into this inner table. So now I'm going to declare another variable. You can kind of like see it as another each, right? But I'm not going to say each. I'm going to say, let's say inner table, declaring a variable with that name. And that will refer to this inner table over there within my main table, right? And in there, I'm going to say the criteria is inner table and in context of date. Give me the top N date and the count or condition. The count in this case is return one row and close it out. And this should do it. There we go. So basically returning the very last record in that month year period. If you did 2, it would return 2 records and so forth. But we want to return only 1. So very handy function. Very handy function. Now we're basically there. All we're going to do is we're going to say expand this baby. And we're not going to include the month here. Cool. We say remove other columns. This date, we can make that date. And we can return that to Excel. And there you go. There your problem is solved. Well, I hope that showed you how simple solutions can be if you understand some of the mQuery functions. And you can come up with creative solutions like this. Well, anyway, BA Sensei signing out.